All right, welcome to another episode of Medicine Mondays. I am yours truly, Dr. Barry Pierre, your favorite board certified internist. You know who I am, host of Medicine Mondays, Real Physician Reacts. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel to get all of that amazing information. And today I am so thankful and glad to have it's almost like a superstar. I almost have a superstar in the building who I don't even know if she realized, because I've been knowing Dr. Renée Darko, before she even knew who I was, right? Like I just knew of the name because I kind of came up in the system of the Student National Medical Association, right? So we just kind of knew who Dr. Renée was. And I am so glad and excited to have her today on the show, really to honestly try to pick her brain on why she even went the direction she went. Cause like I pray for her like every day when I say, because I know what it's like to be a pre-medical student trying to get into that journey. And I know what it's like to have good mentors and what it's like not to have good mentors. Dr. Darko, is it Dr. Darko, Dr. Renée Darko? How do you want to be pronounced here so we make sure?
Oh, Dr. Renée is fine. Dr. Renée is fine.
Dr. Renée, how can first of all, thank you for joining our episode today. We much appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was actually very honored. I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, I got an invitation from Dr. Barry. Like you talking about, I'm a superstar. I was like, Dr. Barry, he sees me.
No, I said no. I was so funny. I was talking to our VA because we're trying to work the whole new process of onboarding and getting new guests, and she was just like listening. People like, oh, who do you want to see? I was like, oh, I want to see her. I want to see this, and I made sure, like, even before, it's so funny, even because we already had your husband on. But I was like, no, we definitely gotta get Dr. Renée. Like, if we had to, if I had to pick and choose. Right, I'd rather lead for Dr. Renée on just because of the superstardom that she has that she probably doesn't realize it. The superstar that like, we got to make sure we get Dr. Renée on, to bless us in the Lunch and Learn community.
Thank you. My head is this big now.
No, it should. Like I said, I can't remember. I don't know. I think I was the associate regional director or the regional director, just something in that ilk as far as SNMA. We just kind of heard of the legend. Right, it was just the legend of Dr. Renée. Like it was just like, there's someone I got. And then I think we probably officially met years later. And I was like, I don't know if you remember, but like I used to be SNMA, like you were like that person. And then SNMA. And first, I'm gone on record say Student National Medical Association is probably the best organization, hands down, especially because of what it's meant to me and my career. So like, and anytime I get one of the superstars from that era, I like to put them on.
Thank you so much, Barry. I'm truly excited to be here to kind of share everything that I possibly can with your audience. But I know what you do. I see all the things that you do and all the information that you share. So I want to say thank you for doing that and having the courage, and especially in some of the controversial things that are going on right now, to be able to share your TikToks on point.
Yes.
Your TikTok, you don't stop. You know what I'm saying?
You got to put the pressure on, right? And
that's it.
Spotlight, that I've been given. So like, I'm gonna I'll take all the arrows.
Yeah.
So Dr. Renée, tell us, like, for those who may not know, those who may not read the description, because we'll make sure I have your bio in there. Who is Dr. Renée, right? And how do we get to the point where like she's here, blessing us today?
So my name is Dr. Renée Volny Darko. You can call me Dr. Renée. And I'm a board certified OBGYN. And typically when I'm not delivering babies or in the operating room, I am trying to help underrepresented pre-meds in medicine get into medical school. And I do that through primarily now a program that I call MEdEq, which is called MEdEq for Medical Education Equity. And that's where I help students interface directly with medical school recruiters and diversity officers through diversity recruitment as well as pre-career development. So I have been doing some version of this for the last over 15 years, almost 20 years now. I've been doing this, and it's a joy.
It's like I said, especially when I start, and I just remember what it was like to kind of be within an organization of like-minded and really like look like, people kind of look like me, individuals kind of all going in that same path. And I remember all of the mentors along the way. So that's, I'm just happy for you, right? That you wanted to kind of take that mantle on and really kind of continue running, right? Because you could have easily said like, hey, I was already a superstar, in my suit, in my SNA world, right? Like I'm good. Like I'm in Hall of Fame. I'm gonna retire. But you were like, no, I'm gonna, even though the fact that you're OB-GYN delivering babies, y'all know my story, right? They kept kicking me out of the room. So I already kind of knew women's health wasn't going to be for me, right? So like that's why I went to internal medicine. But you'll still do that and still say like, you know what? I still want to help, right? Those who clearly need, because we clearly do, who clearly need the help is just so commendable in that ilk. Now, was there any like turn of events that kind of made you say like this is what I want to do? This is kind of like the passion that I have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't think people realize what's going on in their own journeys until kind of they get to a point in a journey. You know what I mean? You just kind of go through life and you're like, oh, this is happening to me. And then you look back years later and you realize, oh, wait a minute, like this probably was happening for a reason. And now you can draw from that. And for me, that experience was actually being someone who I literally was like a great student growing up, right? Like I was valedictorian of my preschool. This is not a joke. Okay, I was valedictorian of my preschool. I was the only person in my 8th grade class to get a scholarship to high school. I went to a private high school. And then I was salutatorian of my high school, got a partial scholarship to college. So I was a pretty good student. Got to the first year of college and was not a good student. Like I had such poor study habits. I didn't know it at the time, but I had such poor study habits for the volume of information and just the way that, that college is, right? Like you have classes on Tuesday, but you don't have class on Wednesday, and you're really supposed to be studying that Wednesday, but you don't. Nope. That was me.
I remember my little Tuesday, Thursday schedule thinking it was sweet. Like, because I still remember they like, oh, I'm gonna take all Tuesdays, Thursday classes, have all these off, and not realizing that then all of the tests were around. Like, I was like, all right, never again.
Right, exactly, and that was exactly what was happening to me. And by the time I was ending my first semester. So I was 18 years old. By the time I was ending my first semester, I went to go and see my pre-med advisor, and I had to see her. Particularly because she had to sign off on my next semester's classes. So I went to her and I said, okay, now let me preface this first by saying that she was also my chemistry teacher and I was failing chemistry. I was not doing well in her class. So I go to her and I'm like, listen, I'm not really doing well. I still didn't figure out what was going on, right? Because I had studied like this all my life. So for me, I was like, I don't know what the problem is. And she said something to me that day that I was just like, okay. What she said was, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a doctor. I want to go to medical school. And she said, maybe you should go to dental school instead. Then she paused and she said, no, but that's hard to get into also. Maybe you should just go to graduate school and do something else.
Wow. So, and this is our first semester. So
I was 18 years old. It was my first semester. And so this preschool valedictorian, high school salutatorian, scholarship earner was now faced with someone who basically was telling her, slow down there, cowgirl. You're dreaming way too high. And so that hit me like a ton of bricks. Not only did she do that, but she also proceeded to sign off on part 2 of all the classes I was taking, including the chemistry class that I was not doing well in. So she never went over with me my course load. She never asked me what was my study habit. She didn't ask me anything except for the questions I literally said to you here today. And so, I went to I actually called my parents on the phone. I was bawling and they were saying, just keep going. Don't listen to her. But the problem was they didn't know how to help me. They didn't know what to tell me to do to get into medical school. And I was clueless. I didn't know what a prerequisite was. I didn't know anything at all. Fast forward into my third year, or what should have been my junior year. I don't even know what year it was at that point, because my credits were all over the place because I had failed some courses and things like that. And this young lady in my physics class, she gives me the MSAR, it used to be like a little booklet at the time. And it said that these are the prerequisites for medical school. Well, I took that book to my dorm room, and after reading that book, I was on the floor, bawling on the floor. Ooh. Because I realized that I was a chemistry major at the time. I was taking courses that I didn't need to take, that I thought I had to take in order to get into medical school. They were not on the prerequisite list. And I was like, what did I just do to myself? And I was also nowhere near close to graduating the following year. And so, eventually I had a friend of mine, he was like, listen, maybe you should go talk to this person. I had not actually returned to ever speak to my pre-med advisor again, which, we'll talk about later why that was a mistake.
Was that first encounter?
That first encounter was a no. I was like, listen, I'm traumatized. I don't want to go back to you. So I never went back to her, which was a mistake. And, in hindsight, it was a mistake. But I did end up going to someone else, and then she helped me out, taught me about post-bac. I became a post-bac student, eventually did very well, and then ended up, I took the MCAT twice, bombed it the first time, but came back the second time pretty strong, and then got into medical school on the first try. So, after that experience, I was like, man, how many people are like me? And you'd be surprised. You probably won't be surprised, but other people might be. There are a lot of people who are like me. So, and there still are.
What's so interesting, especially because I remember kind of talking about, like my failures in the past, right? And I remember like when I was in undergrad, failing organic chemistry, this was my semester. I failed organic chemistry, biochem, maybe physics. That semester was wild. It was just wild. Yeah. And I was in that same position where I thought oh, well, I guess, this whole doctor thing, was nice, right? Because all I have ever heard was that, you do this, you get 4 years of this degree, you get all A's or whatever, and then you poof, right? I had never heard of the stories of people who didn't do that, right? So it was such a shock to me that, again, I remember I was contemplating, I'm like, all right, I kind of like tech, I kind of like computer, all of these random scenarios, but I remember being stuck because I had never thought of myself other than, Dr. Pierre. It never even crossed my mind that it was an option that I wouldn't be a doctor. So when I run into this roadblock and it hits you like a ton of bricks, and then I did the same thing. I was like, wow, did anybody else? Because we always think, I don't know why we always think that. We always think we are the only person who has gone through the obstacle, right? Yes. And so I'm thankful for your story, right? Because I think more pre-meds and even the doctors out here, and especially the residents, they need to hear that it isn't all rosy, right? This isn't a path that, we just kind of jug along and then we just kind of get there. There's going to be some bumps and bruises. So I definitely appreciate you sharing your story, because I've said it before. And I think, and people are always shocked. People are always shocked, oh, you failed? Yeah,
I failed. We think I'm perfect,
right? And mind you guys, this wasn't oh, if you just do, if I just got a couple questions here, nah, it was a good fail. It was a pretty.
That's right. It's pretty strong. I went all in on that fail. One went all in. You know what I mean?
There was no shadow. There was no question. Nah.
Yeah, nah. We talking about 40s and 30s on our quizzes. We ain't no punk. We gonna go all in on this fail.
We went all in. So I'm definitely glad, because again, I think a lot of people, again, even though we're saying they, for some reason, it doesn't click to them, right? That no, you can still get to where we're at. Right. And have, those hiccups, right? That especially, you don't think it's hiccup then, right? You think it's the end of the world, right? But you can have those hiccups, getting to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that, it's such an important point that you just made, because you're right. A lot of pre-meds, they don't realize that you don't have to be perfect in order to get into medical school,
I
and
love it. I love that.
you have to start, and I tell them, you have to start thinking like a doctor before you ever get there. And that starts with getting help. Right? You have to start with getting help. If you know, and this is why I said it was a mistake for me not to go back to that pre-med advisor. But for me, what I probably should have done, and if maybe I had a mentor at that time, that would have happened. But what I probably should have done was I probably should have gone back to her and said, you know what? I actually do want to be a doctor, and I still believe that I can be, and I need you to help me to get there and really advocate for myself, right? Doctors are advocates. Doctors ask for help. Like, these are the things that doctors do. And so I try to incorporate those things into what I do with pre-meds, so that they realize, wait a minute, if I'm embodying those characteristics of a good physician now, how good of a physician will I be much later on, And so, yeah, I mean, it's all intuitive. Like, everything that we do in medicine can be, really funneled into this process of even getting into medicine.
But let's talk about that, especially because you obviously, they're kind of the subject at hand. Let's talk about pre-meds and what it's like to be a pre-med. What is, like, just their mindset in general, right? Especially because you've taken care of so many, you work with so many. Like I said, I'll every now and then, I'll reach back.
Peripheral.
Yeah. You're knee deep in it, right? What is that pre-med mindset? And again, mind you, like, I'll date myself. I'm in medical school at 07 to 11, right? So that's 14 years. Like, so I don't even want to know how they think now versus like the way I used to think. Because
well, you know what? I don't think much has changed. I really don't. I think that pre-med mindset, I talk about pre-med mindset a lot lately, because I'm realizing all the check boxes of, here, you got to take these prerequisites, you got to do this volunteer experience, you got to do X, Y, and Z. Like, the check boxes are fine, but those aren't the things that actually trip students up. What trips students up is the ability to do those things because of their mindset. And the pre-med mindset, we just kind of alluded to it already, is that they think that they have to be perfect. And oftentimes, pre-med students will come in with a fixed mindset, meaning, well, I'm just smart. And if I'm just smart, then I should just do well. And then that's it. They don't realize, no, you actually have room to grow. Like, you have a lot to learn, not just academically, but you have a lot to learn about yourself. You have a lot to learn about the way that you think. You have a lot to learn about what to do when things don't go your way. And if you keep yourself stuck in that fixed mindset instead of that growth mindset, then oftentimes what you end up doing is convincing yourself that you are not going to reach your goal, even while you are reaching your goal. And so,
wow.
Isn't that powerful, right? Like, you're trying to reach a goal, but you've convinced yourself that you're not going to do it. So I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, I posted, the reason that you suck at chemistry and physics is because you fake studying. Like, you're not studying for real. Like, come on. Like, we know we all did it, right? We pulled out our flashcards.
2000, what was it? 2000, what was that faithful? Yeah, I think that was 2009 me. Like I thought I was doing it, but like, if I look back,
you fake studying, right? They pull out their flashcards. I'm like, this is physics. I don't know how many flashcards you think gonna teach you physics, but that's not gonna happen. Like, you need to sit down, you need to do questions and problems and understand that you are going to get some of these problems wrong. You might get majority of them wrong in the beginning, but you got to keep working at it. And that is yet another characteristic that I say to them, like, you need to start thinking like a doctor, right? If a doctor gets the wrong diagnosis the first time, or they don't know what's wrong with you, they're not going to throw their hands up and be like, well, don't know what's going to happen to you, you're going to die, so I don't know what else to do, right? You wouldn't want to be that kind of doctor. So be the kind of doctor, be the kind of student that when you don't know the answer to something, that yes, you're going to ask for help. You're going to advocate for yourself, and you are going to keep trying. You are going to keep trying and doing the thing that is the most effective for you in order to get the answer. So, I mean, that's really the pre-med mindset, you know, that fixed mindset that is kind of like your typical pre-med mindset. But we got to move that over to the growth mindset where they understand just because you didn't get it right the first time doesn't mean that it's the end of the world or that you cannot get it right. So stop convincing yourself and stop telling yourself you can't, and ask yourself, how can I?
Ooh, I love it. So how are you getting them to that transition? And I'm pretty sure obviously it varies with, you know, person to person. Are just some people so fixated at that level that it's very difficult to kind of bring them on that side? Like what's been some of your kind of your trials and tribulations, just kind of doing what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, it does vary. But I find that there are certain things that work. So, you know, some people are just fixated. They're just not ready to go there, you know, and if they're not ready at that point, you just, you know, keep coaxing them, but you don't push it, right? Like you just say, hey, listen, this is where you are. So that's number one, is that you got to be candid. You have to be very candid with students, which I am, right? A lot of students get, you know, their hands held and whatever. And I'm, you know, after a while, I'm kind of like, listen, you're not ready. When you are ready, which I believe you will be ready, but when you are ready, you will get to this point. And so I think kind of that candidness, you know, or that candor, if you will, helps them to go, okay, you know, maybe I have some things that I need to look at, reflect, you know, upon myself. Now, those students who are ready, but still kind of are in that comfort zone, if you will, what I do is actually through my MEdEq program, I actually have them interface with medical school recruiters, as well as diversity officers, other physicians, sometimes medical students. And the reason that I have them do that is because, you know, oftentimes pre-meds will say they want this, they want that, they want to do this, they want to do that. So then I'm like, okay, here's the opportunity. Do it. I want to see you do it.
Yes.
You want to talk to all the schools. You want to get into school. You want to do X, Y, and Z. Here is a person who can actually help you do just that. Put your neck out on the line and do it. Put your feet to the fire. Put your money where your mouth is and do it.
Let's go.
Right. And so
want to see the action. I want to see that action.
That's right. About that action. You know what I'm saying? And once they start doing it, they realize, oh, wait, that wasn't as daunting as I thought it was. And by the way, these medical school recruiters, these diversity officers, that physician, that medical student, they're people. They're not like these, you know, high up, you know, almighty, whatever. They're literally just people, and they are actually trying to help you and advocate for you. So they start to realize the benefit of getting out of their comfort zones, and you'll be surprised. Like you'll have students contacting medical school recruiters, diversity officers, other physicians like yourself. You know, you have a couple of students from the program who have actually reached out to you, and that's because of the way that I run this program. I'm like, listen, these people are here for you. They went to med school already. They don't need this. You need this.
Right.
So put your feet to the fire.
That's why I commend you, because really, again, you can sit still, right? You can sit still. Your resume is already written for in stone, right? Like
exactly.
No one would question, like, you know, what was Dr. I don't know if Dr. Renee is like, nah, she's been there. Like she's been there, done that like for a while, right? So you could easily do it. So the fact that you still say, like, I'm still gonna go that extra mile, still gonna put in the work because I want to see you also in my position, is what's so commendable about, you know, everything that you're doing. So let's talk about it. Let's talk. We kind of alluded to it. Let's talk about now. What's the company name again?
So my company is actually called Premed Strategies.
Okay.
And through Premed Strategies, I run the MEdEq program, which stands for Medical Education Equity.
So that brainchild, like, because obviously you were doing this before it was a business, right? You were doing this before it was a program. Yes. So what made you turn that corner and say, like, all right, I need to get really real like with what I'm already doing, but like I really
Right.
need to get really real with it. And especially because again, we, you know, as we're both content creators, right? So we understand that
Yeah.
you know, we all have certain audiences that work and certain things that we have to do with that audience. And
Yeah.
I always say, we kind of talked before, like the pre-med audience, like that's a special audience, right? We'll
That's
just,
a
you know, we love
tough
them.
nut to crack.
We love them. We love them. But that is a very special audience. And really because
Yes.
of some of the reasons you kind of alluded, a lot of us, right? A lot of us been smart, right? A
Yeah.
lot of us been, you know, just kind of chugging along, and then we got hit in the face. And we don't know how to deal with that because we've spent years in school never being hit in the face. We were clean, our clothes are clean, everything, we were fresh, right? And then, you know, the obstacle, the undergrad and everything else came, boom, like knocked us off our feet. And now here you are, right? So what made you really turn that corner and say, like, I need to get really serious and make this like official with what I'm doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the passion, I first realized that I had this passion for helping pre-meds actually while I was a medical student. And my third year of medical school is actually when I became the pre-med board member, the national pre-med board member of the SNMA. And then subsequently, I became the chairperson of the board of directors. But while I was, you know, especially when I was the pre-med board member, I actually had a notion of this idea of, okay, well, how do we, you know, really help pre-med students to kind of, you know, expose them to certain things that they may not necessarily be exposed to. I don't think that my thought process was as sophisticated as it is right now, because I didn't have the years of experience behind me back then. But then as I kept going, I just started realizing, wait a minute, you know, there's something here to that pre-med mindset that we just talked about that is more than just about boxing, you know, checking boxes and things like that. When I became chairperson of the board of directors, I actually had written out this program that I wanted the SNMA to do. But because of, you know, resources and things like that, the SNMA was not actually able to do it. So I sat on it for years, but continued to just coach pre-meds, mentor pre-meds, do personal statements, do mock interviews. Like I was just kind of all over the place, and students would just come to me. And then with social media, it became so much easier to like interface with students, right? You didn't have to like be like, legend. Oh, email
like,
me this, that.
I cannot reach out to the legend. Like
that's right. That's right. That's right. So it became so much easier. And then after a while, I was like, you know, I really should make this into something because I'd like to spend a good amount of time doing it. And so I started Pre-Med Strategies back in about 2015, 2016. And so in starting Pre-Med Strategies, my first iteration of my programs were actually coaching programs. I was actually coaching pre-med students for quite some time. And then I had a paradigm shift. And the reason I had a paradigm shift was because of the idea of diversity in medicine. And I started thinking, you know, we spend a lot of time coaching students, mentoring students, particularly minority students, how to groom themselves, how to prepare themselves to get into medical school. But medical schools keep saying that they need help with diversifying their classrooms. So I started thinking, why should the students have to bear the burden, the resource burden to be able to do this when it's actually the schools who are looking to recruit them? And so that's when I ended up making the MEdEq program and saying, you know what? I want these schools to be able to hit their goal, but do it in a very non-traditional way. And that is to have direct access to the students on more than just a one-off recruitment fair occasion, because that's what was happening, right? Like, oh, okay, we'll just go to the SNMA conference. We'll go to LMSA conference.
Oh, you talking
we'll
right
see
now.
all the right. We'll see all the minorities, and in that one event, we're pretty much done.
What are you talking right now? Okay, I love it.
Yeah, right. Or they will also, and that's not to say that the schools are not making their efforts, but I think it's very difficult for them to make certain efforts because they also either don't have the manpower or don't have the resources to do it. Or I don't know if they're not putting the resource, whatever. It hasn't been done. Right. The other thing that they will do is they will offer up other programs like, post-bac programs or master's programs, specifically targeting, minority students, which is fine, but that's for students, again, who are bearing the brunt of the resource, right? They have the financial burden to do that. They have to have, the time to do it, they have to know about it.
Yeah.
Which becomes
that's a big one.
Yeah. It becomes very hard.
Programs are like in secret, like you wouldn't even know that a school has one until I happen to talk to somebody else. Like, oh no, they got a good one.
Yeah. Too. Or like a bridge program, right? Like, oh, did you know you could get into such and such a school if you, have this 7-year program in your school that you didn't even know about has a, connection to a medical school. And the students are not finding out about it until like 3rd or 4th year, into college. And it's like, okay, like these things should have happened way before that.
I mean, I went to Florida State, and for those who don't know, like Tallahassee, Florida State FAMU, they were like cousins. We're like literally like down the street. And I ended up going to Nova Southeastern for medical school. And it wasn't until I got to medical school at Nova that they were like, oh yeah, we have like a bridge program with Florida A&M. And I was like I was just at Florida State for like 4 years. Like we didn't even know about that. So like, if we don't know, like I'm pretty sure the FAMU folks don't know either. So yeah, you said that right on the head. And I like that you mentioned that you have to do it in a non-traditional way, because clearly their traditional ways ain't working.
Right. We've been trying to diversify medicine for over 50 years and nobody has figured out how to do it. And there isn't going to be one way to do it, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat, obviously. And it's going to take a multitude of efforts, a culmination of efforts in order to do this. But we do know that, pipeline programs, bridge programs, all these programs have not actually worked. Like if this were a research project, they would have shut it down a long time ago.
Like pull this funding out.
Yeah, pull the plug. This is not working.
We're spending money and I don't see where my money going.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of how I came up with, the program, the MEdEq program in particular. I nixed the coaching. I don't do student coaching anymore. I've kind of moved everything that I used to do in terms of coaching into the MEdEq program, which the MEdEq program is free for students. And so I'm able to do all of the things that I was doing for them before, at least a majority of the things that I was doing for them before within the program. But now without them bearing the burden of the resource, the financial resource in particular.
I love that, because again, that's one of the things, especially when people ask me how, because I went to Nova Southeastern, we had a class of 200, it was 7 of us, right? And that, like, what made it so worse is like the 7 of us, like it was like a thing. People were like, oh my God, we got 7 Black folks here, right? Like that was like
out of 200.
Right. And because people they were used to seeing maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, which I'm
right.
like, it's 200 of us. Like how? Right.
Right.
So and out of the 7, 3 of us came matriculated from the post-bac program, right? So those that just got matriculated in directly was only like 4, right? So
right.
Just like paltry numbers. And so I love the fact that the onus should be, and has always should have been on the schools, right? On the people who, especially if that's your goal.
Yes.
That's your goal to recruit.
Right. You're looking for them. Right.
Then here they are.
Yeah.
That transition, when you went from really focusing on kind of the students to more focusing on the schools, was that well received, like within the schools? Like what was your reception when you said like, all right, no, we need it, like y'all need to like tighten up, like not us, right? But like y'all need to tighten up. What was some of that reception?
So, it hasn't been negative, I will say that, but it has been challenging. So the schools that are in the program now are actually Kansas City University, College of Osteopathic Medicine, Des Moines University, College of Osteopathic Medicine, William Carey University, College of Osteopathic Medicine, as well as the American Association of Colleges of osteopathic medicine. So all of them actually are osteopathic schools.
Shout out.
Shout out to osteopathic schools. KCU, actually, Kansas City is my alma mater.
All right. I got to tighten up. I got to tell.
You got to tell Nova Southeastern, yo.
But no, it's called Curon C, but like somebody bought it or somebody.
Yeah, it's called something else now.
somebody put a whole bunch of money up, so now it's a different.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's named after them. But yeah, it hasn't been negative. I have to say that, but it has been a challenge. And I think it's been a challenge because it's such a new way of doing things. And they're kind of like, who is this woman who's coming in and saying like, you basically should put some financial resource to directly cultivating these students. And I have to tell you, the schools that are on in the program right now, and actually it's an app-based program. So actually the schools join an app, and then through the app, and the students join the app too, but through the app, we do all of these programs that help them to interface directly with each other, the students and the recruiters. Nice. The schools that are on right now, I can tell you, like, they were like, absolutely, we want this, gung-ho, no questions asked. As soon as they heard it, they wanted to do it, which tells me something about their commitment to really increasing, the diversity at their schools. And for me, that was so very encouraging, because I'm like, there are probably other schools out there who feel like this. And, as soon as I can either get to them or, I can get to the right people at their schools, then I think this will definitely be much more well received. But it's just been challenging, but I have to say, thankfully, it has not been negative. So I am hopeful that there will be more schools who will join the program. These schools are fantastic. And what's great about it is, Dr. Barry, like, literally, I set up programs for them. We had a 3-day mock interview session last week. And all I have to do is ask them, listen, hey, I want to do a mock interview. And all they have to do is show up. That's it. Like, I take care of everything. I take care of the marketing. I get the students. I pair the students together with the interviewers. We had about, I want to say, my goal was to get 180 people total, between recruiters, medical students, physicians, and pre-med students. We got 163 people signed up. We ended up, I think, interviewing over 70-ish pre-med students over the 3 days. It was great, and the medical schools, they were there to be able to talk to these students, to interface with these students. The students were able to ask them questions. And it was just a really great thing. And guess what? Like, they obviously put up the financial resource to be a part of the program, but the work that they have to put in order to participate and interact with these students is probably not much more than a couple of hours a month. So imagine going from a recruitment fair that you did for 5 hours on a Saturday in 1 year to now potentially 9 or 8 times out of the year interfacing with these students, and then you cultivating, right? The school is actually cultivating, saying, hey, students, we need this from you, instead of the student guessing, I don't know what the school wants from me, and then presenting an application that is not going to go through.
What I love about that is I don't think people realize, again, I remember, I was a pre-med student, walking around Florida State, like we didn't have these opportunities. This was not I was weird, because like I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I honestly did not know how to be a like what that steps were, until I was a junior in undergrad. Until I was junior in undergrad, which goes to show a lot of us don't really have the mentorship that's there. And I just happened to, I actually just posted about this. I just happened to walk into the career center and run into this pre-med advisor, Miss Anderson, Thelma Anderson. And she was like, oh, you need to join MAPS, right? I was like, what's MAPS?
What's MAPS?
Yeah, because I don't know, right? And mind you, I was only there because of a homework assignment with another class. They told us, hey, you got to go to the career center, right? And do some homework. So I go, and Chance, and she's like, nope, come to MAPS. I joined MAPS, and I always tell people the rest is history. I am not here without that opportunity. And so when you hear about being able to like talk to pre-med advisors, schools, and all these things there before you get there, like what better way to put yourself in a mental state that like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor, than the fact that you're already talking, you're already having these conversations, you're already knowing what you need to do, what you not need to do. So it's such an immense opportunity that I hope more pre-meds continue to latch on, and really more importantly, right, more schools who again, I don't know what Kiran Patel's numbers are looking like these days, right? But again, when y'all went crazy when it was 7, right? So like out of 200, so like I'm pretty sure like it ain't that much better now. Right. So I'm hoping more and more schools understand like this is the opportunity that they've been looking for, right? Like, and again, I like the fact that y'all got a whole app, right? I'm a tech person, so I'm like, oh, I'm already thinking like, oh, what's the interface? That's a whole different discussion there. But just making it so easy for them, this is definitely something that like I know will like continue to be great, right? In that regards. Now, as far as, especially because obviously you're working with the schools and whatnot, as far as kind of the SMA and all these other organizations as well too, do you typically get any referrals as far as like pre-meds? Like how are pre-meds even like finding out about this?
Yeah, I mean, much of it is actually organic, through social media, word of mouth. I might have, especially if I have an event ongoing, like the mock interview event, I'll put that out on social media, and all of a sudden you'll see like the numbers on the apps just shoot up. And so much of that is organic. We do have partnerships, however. We have an official partnership with the Student National Medical Association, as well as the Tour for Diversity in Medicine, which I'm actually a mentor in the Tour for Diversity in Medicine. So those are, the major organizations, obviously, that, I run to whenever, I have something going on. I say, hey, listen, I'm putting this on for the pre-med students, have them sign up, have them come. And then we'll overlap on the students. My hope is, that I don't have all the pre-med students all to myself. Like that really is not the point. The point is that the program should be a repository of information, a safe space, for pre-med students, especially those who are struggling academically. We know that there is a forum that shall remain nameless out there that isn't very
that forum is so brown. Somebody must make some good money from it, because
because I don't even But the forum that shall remain nameless, I do tell myself, I warn them, I'm like, stay away from that forum. It is very toxic.
Very.
And it will feed your worst fears about yourself and your journey. It will feed it. It will be like, you will never be a doc ever. You failed chemistry. Never.
Right. And what's it be? It'd be other pre-meds like.
Yes, other pre-meds telling other pre-meds, like they trying to knock people out. Like, okay, out of these 65,000 people, if I can knock out these 2 people, that'll help me get into med school. Like, what are you doing?
And my like pre-meds, don't get twisted. If you're a resident, don't go on that site either, right? You trying to go into a fellowship, you trying to get a certain job in a certain place. Like those same negative folks are like,
they don't leave.
They don't leave. They kind of continue they just kind of grow with.
They grow up with it.
Like, no, that's a count. Oh,
they grow up with it. So, I try to make MEdEq a very safe space for pre-meds to be like, listen, I don't care if your GPA is what mine was when I was a first year college student. Like, I think I got a 1.9 GPA.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh no, that was like, and mind you, I was lucky at Florida State that they let us retake and then replace, right? Because like that year was just like the only, in fact, I know there was one, my wife would know, but like there was one class that I did good in. Everything else was like, no, like, yeah. Oh, but that's what it was. Genetics, physio, biochem 2 lab. And like, what was I doing? Taking all those classes, all that.
Well, it kills me because here's the biggest myth about being pre-med is that you have to be a science major. Yes. And I will beg students beg them, like, listen, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make that mistake if you don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it that when you were in high school, you liked bio, you liked chem. I liked chem when I was in high school, which is why I picked a chem major, but I liked chem when I was in high school.
Yes.
Little did I know what chemistry actually entailed and that I was not actually going to be interested in all of chemistry, to know it to the point where I could be a professor in chemistry, right? Like, I didn't need to know that much in chemistry. I needed to take prerequisites. I always tell people, listen, if I had a chance to do it all again, I would have been a theater major. I swear. I loved my theater electives. I wish I would have taken theater and then taken my prerequisites as electives. That's what I would have done if I had to do it all over again. And so I do let pre-meds know, because you're right. They will take 16, 18 credits in their first year. Like, this is what I was doing in my first year of college, 16 credits. And then I had calculus, bio, chemistry, English. I'm like, and my pre-med advisor never once thought to be like, why are you taking so many, loaded classes?
Yeah.
Never. So, I am really encouraged, that this program has the number of students that it has. I think we have over 250 students in the program right now, which is great. We have about 7 to 10 students. My last count is between 7 and 10 students who got into medical school as of last year.
Let's go.
So yeah, I mean, we doing good. We almost at the same number as your school.
yes. No, it's a it's a sad time. It's a sad time.
It's pretty. It's pretty.
So yeah. Before we let you go, what's our goal, right? If I fast forward 5 years, right, what's Dr. Renée doing right now?
Ooh, what is Dr. Renée doing right now? Dr. Renée is smiling because, all the medical schools in the country have, 15 and 20% underrepresented students. That's the goal. That's the dream. That's the dream right there. I won't call it a pipe dream, but it's kind of close.
Yes.
But at the very least, a realistic goal would be that, I have a good percentage, maybe over 30% of the schools in the country who are involved in the MEdEq program. And I have, potentially, 3,000, 5,000 students who are in the program and who are really interacting as much as possible with all of these resources, right? And then we have a good number of them, a good percentage, maybe, 10%, 18 or 15% going into medical school from the MEdEq program. That for me would be a great accomplishment. So I'm hopeful. I mean, that's what the goal is, at least right now, 5 years from now.
I love it. So before we let you go, where can the pre-meds find you? Where can everybody, let's drop your socials. And before I start that, again, for the pre-meds who are listening to this, I want to stress this. I've said this before, so it's not like new, right? Like, again, you are listening to a person who failed organic chemistry, failed biochem 2 lab, failed genetics. I think I only passed English that semester. Got into medical school. You listen to a person who failed his boards, got into the residency I want. You listen to a person in under 4 years was a program director. Like do not allow your failures to deter where you need to be. Right.
Absolutely.
Do not do that. Right. Again, this is not a rosy picture right here. This is not a straight A student, 90 percentile. Like, this is not that. Right. This is a person who decided, one, that to take action, join a program, right? Like, at that time for me, it was MAPS, right? Get the mentorship that I needed, right? And again, I was able to, again, like just hear about the superstar, Dr. Renée. We didn't officially meet for like years later, right? I just, like, I remember I met, I was like, Dr. Renée. Like, I just, like, she probably was like, this guy's crazy. Like, no, like, I remember Like I remember who Dr. Renee was, especially because I always say I grew up in like SNMA, like
Yeah.
the MAPS. Once I got to medical school, became the president of our SNMA chapter. I started a math chapter. All this is because I knew there are people like Dr. Renee that, weren't going to just allow us to just relax and chill. So if they ain't relaxing and chilling, I'm not relaxing and chilling, right? So again, please, pre-meds who are listening to this, people who want to get to medical school are listening to this, understand that, like, yes, the path is still there. You still got to put work in, but when you have people like Dr. Renee who is willing, right, to put in the work to like pull you across that finish line, please do not hesitate and take advantage of it. So Dr. Renee, again, apologize about that, but like where can people find you? Where can people track you down? Where can my people join this app? Like, again, like I said, we probably got to talk offline about this app because I'm excited. I said, I'm tech nerd. Like,
I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you. Yeah.
What you doing right now? Like, how can we follow you? And
absolutely. So you can find me anywhere on social media at Dr. Renee Darko, DrRenee Darko. Pretty much Instagram is probably the best place, but you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. But the best place actually to find me is actually on my app. That's probably the place where I'm the most active because, I really give that attention to the students who are in the program and the way that you can join.
And this is Android and iOS.
So this is actually a web-based app. So, it's web-based. So you just, go onto the website pretty much, and then you can pull the icon onto your page or onto your phone, onto your home page of your phone. But essentially the best way to get to the app, and I like to let people get a little bit of a sneak peek of who I am before they start, joining the app. And the best way to do that is you can text Future Doc, FUTUREDOC, all one word, to the number 844-529-3009, and it will take you actually through my 3-day challenge. It's a 3-day pre-med makeover challenge. So you do that, go through the challenge, and then decide whether or not you want to join the app-based program of MEdEq. And once you join, I'll see your little profile pop up, and I'll send you a message welcoming you, and boom, the programs, will start. You just stay tuned. I'll send you text messages, emails, things like that. And we'll get you ready to get to medical school. But I do want to comment on what you said, Dr. Barry, about, listening to a person who failed this, failed that. Same thing here, right? I'm a person who failed, a number of classes, physics, got a D in organic at one point, failed general chemistry, right? Like, you don't have to be perfect. And I also say to students that failure is a big character builder. It allows you to learn lessons that you would never have learned had you just gone straight through and just done it perfectly. And so, it helps you to relate to people. It helps you to know what it is that you actually really want, because a failure is a huge blow. And it is something that literally could knock you off and just, I don't want to do this anymore. But if you really want to do it, that failure will become a motivator to you. And that's something that you have to really kind of understand, that when you start talking and interacting with patients who, their diabetic numbers aren't where they want to be, the weight isn't where they want to be, that hypertension isn't as controlled as they want it to be. Again, pre-meds, you got to start thinking like a doctor, even though you're going through this process right now in undergrad or, as a non-traditional pre-med student. You have to understand that these failures will help you in the long run to relate to your patients and make you an excellent, excellent doctor, because you'll know what it is to fail and then to triumph. So I love the fact that you mentioned, like, hey, listen, we are two people who were not perfect, but we came out pretty good.
Pretty good.
Somebody managed to make a doctor out of us.
Yes. Shout out to those who said, like, you know what, like, I think they'll still be good. I see the blemish, but like, no, like, I want to take them around. We appreciate that. Again,
Yeah.
Dr. Renee, thank you for blessing the Lunch Learn community. Again, I wanted to make sure I gave you the roses that you deserve. Because again, a lot of times we don't get
Thank
them,
you.
right? A lot of times we don't get them. You know, we're so busy like putting it in work, we don't realize like the amount of admiration that we have that's just kind of spreading around us, right? Like I said again, and guys, I'm not hyperbolous with it, right? Like I really been like know who Dr. Renee is since I was like a medical pre-med or like I remember it was been a long time. Like it's been a
Well,
long.
I was pre-medical board member in 2004, 2005.
Yeah. So it's been a while. It's been like
Yeah.
that's how long like she's been putting in work, and like I've been like watching from afar. And like again, when I work with the mentees that I work with, right, I say like, yeah, you know what, there's people putting much more work than me, so I can't even like complain, right? Like I'm just
Yeah.
just a dabble here. So again, thank you for blessing us, joining the legislative community again.
Thank
We hope
you.
and wish you so much success, and society hopes and wishes you so much success, because like the way these numbers are going, right, it's not looking good for us.
Yeah, we need it. We need these numbers to go up. But thank you so much, Dr. Barry. Like I said, I truly appreciate you. I see everything that you're doing and all the work that you're putting in and all of the information that you're putting out to people. You are definitely positively affecting people's lives. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.